Hello and welcome along again to another of my reviews of budget hotels in the London area. Now today I'm in an area called Elstree, which technically speaking isn't really London. It's actually Hertfordshire, but it's within the Transport for London zoning system. It's Zone 6, so therefore you can use a London travel card, or if you have an Oyster card you can use that. So most people regard this area as being London, even though technically speaking the council area is actually Hertfordshire. Elstree is a very famous place for one thing, and that is the film and television industry. There's a massive studio about a mile away from here where some really big blockbuster films have actually been filmed, and that goes back many decades. Some really famous actors have performed just a mile away at the studios at Elstree. And also the BBC have an extensive studio complex literally within a stone's throw of this very hotel, and it's actually a place where they film a TV programme called Eastenders, which I'm sure you will have heard of. The actual Albert Square is not in the East End of London, it's actually in a very posh part of North London called Elstree, and it's almost within view of this actual hotel where they have always filmed Eastenders. So this is the Elstree Ibis Hotel. If you've watched my other films, you'll know that I mainly stay at Premier Inn and also at Travel Lodge when I want a budget hotel. So you might be wondering why I'm staying here. Well, there's a very simple reason, and that is cost. I'm down for the weekend for a very big football match at Wembley Stadium. And there's also other things going on this weekend. The London Marathon takes place this weekend. There are some environmental protests with, I believe they're called Extinction Rebellion. That's going on this weekend. And a massive football match only a few miles away at Wembley Stadium, which is why I'm here. And the hotel prices were just ridiculously expensive. I looked at Travel Lodge, I looked at Premier Inn, I looked at some really cheap guest houses, and this was one of the only affordable hotels within easy reach of Wembley Stadium. It's cost me 50 quid for tonight, which is actually quite expensive considering that we're in Zone 6. Normally I wouldn't want to pay that much money for a budget hotel in Zone 6, but I had no choice because I'm coming to the football match. It's a long way from Leeds in West Yorkshire. I wanted to stay the night before. I wanted to be down here ready for the game at Wembley. So I had no choice. So the reason I'm staying here really is just on cost grounds. And I don't normally stay in Ibis hotels. So this is something new for me. And so to begin with, I'll just give you a tour of the room. Then I'm going to give you a few useful details, useful information if you are thinking of staying here yourself. And then I'll finish by telling you whether or not I would stay here again. So first of all, as is often the case, I will show you the television. It's a very small Philips TV. I'd say this is about 28 inches, my guess. There aren't many channels. It's pretty much like all the budget hotels you can stay at. You'll be lucky to get more than what you'd get on Freeview. And something I do on all my videos is try and see if I can get a USB stick in here anywhere so that I can watch films later on, and I can't. If you've seen my other films, you'll know what I'm talking about. I like to bring films from home, and I like to stick a USB stick in the back of the television, and then I can watch films late at night because there's never anything good on telly. But I can't do that because it's fixed to the wall. Let's have a look at the bathroom. Now this is a weird bathroom. I'll just stand back a little bit so you can see what it's like from the outside. And it's like a kind of a curved shape. It's like a pod style bathroom with a little plasticky door. And this reminds me very much of another hotel that I've stayed in, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And then all you've got is a shower, and it's very tight. It's just got this little sort of pod shape. It does have the flexible hose, which I always love. If you've seen my other films, you'll know why I love the style of shower that isn't fixed to the wall, where you can actually take the flexible hose off. And if you want to know why, then watch my other films, because I explain in all of them why I prefer that style of hose. It's only a little trickle, it's not a power shower, it's not particularly brilliant. Got me clean, had a shower earlier on, but it's functional. It's not very big. You've got your toilet, obviously, and you've got a wash basin and a mirror. Very, very clean, I have to say. Very impressed by the cleanliness, but certainly not impressed by the size. The size is awful. I'll just close the door. And so the room itself, we've got the bed, which you'd expect, I guess. A couple of reading lights next to it. I'll just stand back a bit. It's a queen size bed. It's very comfortable. I've tried it out. Certainly can't fault the bed. Very, very comfortable. I'm sure I'll have a good night's sleep tonight before the big match at Wembley tomorrow. So you've got the 2 reading lights. Just turning around the door, and you have got air conditioning, and it works quite well. It looks really old-fashioned actually compared to the ones you get in Travelodge super rooms, but I have tried it out and it is very effective, so that's a good thing. Okay, turning around, and you've got a desk and a little chair type thing. And this is pretty useless, to be honest. It's all right just to sit on to do your shoelaces up, but I wouldn't want to sit on there all night watching TV. I don't know if it's supposed to be a sofa or what it is. There's only room for one person to actually sit on it. And you wouldn't want to sit on it for long. It's not very comfortable. There are also very few sockets, and I like a lot of sockets because I have a lot of things to charge, camera equipment and phones and all sorts. So both of those being used at the moment to charge one of my other cameras and also a phone charger. And the only other place that I can find, unless I'm very mistaken, the only other socket is down here. So I'm having to charge my phone up down on the floor there, simply because there aren't any other sockets. And I guess that's also going to be an issue tomorrow if I want to use the kettle to make some coffee, because the tray is there, but I'm going to have to move that over to there to plug in, because there doesn't appear to be a socket for the kettle. So they could do with more sockets really. I could only find 3, which isn't really enough these days. So just moving on to the kettle. It's a nice metal kettle, which I always prefer to the plastic ones. They're just a bit nicer somehow. And you get your usual stuff. So some coffee, some tea, and sugar and artificial sweetener and milk. And if you've seen my other films, you'll know I always laugh about Premier Inn, because they give you about 2 milk sachets and they give you about 2 coffees. Well, that's actually all that I got here. But I was very lucky because the maid was just outside. I arrived very early and she was outside, and she gave me loads more. So I've got loads of milk and loads of coffee, but only because I had to ask for more. They actually only provided 2 sachets of each. So very, very stingy. Really just pretty much like Premier Inn and Travelodge, they're pretty stingy as well. I did have a comment actually on a previous film I made. Somebody wrote a comment saying that it's something to do with COVID and handling things. I don't know if that's true or not, but thanks for the person who left the comment on one of my other films saying it's something to do with they have to put a minimum amount, because once it's been touched by other guests, they can't give it to anyone else. I absolutely no idea if that's true or not, but apparently that is the reason that they only give you 2 of each, but then they always give you more if you go to reception. As I always say in all my films, all the other stuff I brought myself. There's cider and tonic water and a nice bottle of wine for celebrating the result after the Wembley match, and all the rest of it, and the peanuts and the crisps. I brought that myself. Right, small window which looks out onto 2 car parks. One car park is the hotel car park, which is that, and it's free, but there aren't many spaces. And I can just see my car down there in the corner. Somebody's just parked next to it. I hope they don't bang my door. But also there's another car park just behind, which isn't a hotel car park. But if you can't get a space in the hotel car park, then you're allowed to park in there for just £1. You have to go to reception. They give you a voucher, and then you can park in that car park for just £1. So that is very good value for money. I've parked in the actual car park of the hotel, but if I hadn't found a space, I could have just paid £1, and then there's a massive car park just behind. Window's not very big, so you don't get a lot of natural lighting in here. It's not helped by the fact that I've just stuck my flag in the window. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before the hotel asks me to take it down, because it's probably lowering the tone of the neighbourhood a little bit, maybe, I don't know. But I've stuck that, so we'd probably get a bit more natural light if it wasn't for the fact that I've just stuck my football flag in the window. So I'll just stand back, give you a better view of the room. The room is a reasonable size, it's not massive. But that's pretty much all you get. A very small bathroom, a reasonable sized room, small window, the usual stuff that you'd expect. I would say this is pretty much on a par with basic travel lodge. Wouldn't say it's as good as Premier Inn. It's cheap and cheerful. It is very, very basic. I have to say that. This is a very basic room, small television. It's functional, but it kind of serves a purpose, and I suppose for the money it's not too bad. It's the cheapest thing I could find that was close to Wembley Stadium that I knew wasn't going to be really grotty. And so that's why I'm here tonight. So I said I was going to give some useful information. Well, first of all, I've already mentioned the fact that there is a good car park here that's free, and an even bigger one next door which only costs £1, but you must remember on arrival to put your registration number in the machine at reception. If you don't, you will end up getting fined, so do not forget to put your number on the screen that is at the reception desk. There is a train station which is about 15 minutes walk away. It's in Zone 6, as I mentioned earlier on. It's not an underground station, it's a normal train station, and it takes about 30 minutes to get into central London. So not too bad, but it is Zone 6, so it's not going to be cheap. It will cost roughly about £15 to get a travel card. But then that does allow you to travel all over London. So not too bad value for money, really. I wouldn't attempt to drive into London from here because the traffic in North London can be pretty bad. If you're going to Wembley Stadium, as I am, then it's quite easy to get there from here. You just take the normal train down towards Kilburn, and then it's a short walk. And then you take the normal underground back up to Wembley Park. So it doesn't take long at all. You can get up to Wembley Stadium in about 30 minutes from here by public transport. Probably do it in 20 minutes by car, but then you've got the problem of parking. There are loads and loads of shops around here, loads of restaurants, loads of takeaways. If you don't want to venture into central London, then there is loads going on. It's a very, very busy area. There's all sorts of stuff here. There's a Wetherspoons, which is a little bit grotty, but it's cheap and cheerful. It's the cheapest place. You'll get a meal and a pint in Hertfordshire, I would imagine. I actually stayed here last year with my partner, and we went into the Wetherspoons, and they even, believe it or not, gave us extra chips free of charge. The barman came and apologised that he hadn't given us enough chips and gave us another plate of chips. I've never ever had that before in a Wetherspoons pub. There's also a few other hotels in this area. If you don't want to stay in an Ibis, there are a couple of Premier Inns and travel lodges. In fact, this whole area is very well served for hotels, and I suspect that's because of the TV and film studios, which are very close. So they probably have a lot of people who want to stay here on a temporary basis. This is the best one to stay at if you want to be near the train station. The travel lodge, the Premier Inns, are nearer the motorway, so very handy to get to from the motorway, but they are a long walk to the station. And that's one of the reasons I chose this particular hotel, because it's not too expensive, but it's only about 15 minutes walk to the train station, whereas the other budget hotels are all a lot further away from the train station. It's also very handy for the A1 and M1 motorway. You can get to this hotel in probably about 10 minutes after leaving the motorway. It's very, very easy to find as well. So if you're coming from the north, if you're coming to London from the north, either on the M1 or the A1, then you will find it very, very easy to get to this hotel. So would I stay here again? Well, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The reason that I'm staying here at all is because I've got to stay somewhere near Wembley Stadium for the football match, and I did look all over the internet. I've been looking for ages. Travelodge is very expensive, Premier Inn's very expensive, grotty guest houses still expensive and not very nice, and I nearly gave up, and then I found this Ibis, which at 50 quid for the night is still quite expensive, but it's the cheapest thing I could find. So my main motivation was money, and that would relate to my advice on whether to stay here again or not. To be absolutely honest, I probably wouldn't stay here again unless I needed somewhere cheap and everywhere else was expensive. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the hotel. It's very basic, but it's very clean, fantastic staff. It's a nice bar area. They do meals in the evening. They do breakfast. Can't fault the hotel itself, other than the fact it is basic. I can't really fault it. It's nice. And it's in a quite convenient location, but the main problem is it's a very long way from the centre of London. So it is a bit of a hassle and an expense getting into London. And also I know that I could get, under normal circumstances, I could get a Travelodge super room or a good quality Premier Inn for the same price. It's just unfortunate that I've come on a weekend when there's going to be nearly 100,000 football supporters in this area. There's the London Marathon, which I believe is about 30,000 runners. There's several protests going on this weekend. And because of that, there's just literally thousands and thousands of people coming to London who wouldn't normally be here. And that's without all the tourists and everything else. So I had to find somewhere reasonably cheap, and this has suited my purposes. So would I stay here again? No, I wouldn't, unless I was desperate for somewhere that was cheap, unless I was coming on a weekend where everywhere else was expensive. It's all about the money, really, to be quite honest. If you come on a very busy weekend, London can be a very expensive city to stay in. One final point, I have made another film which is about how to find cheap accommodation in London. It's a really useful film. So if you are like me, if you like to stay in budget hotels, if you come to London a lot and you don't want to spend a lot of money, then have a look at this other film, because you'll find it very, very, very useful, giving you lots of tips and advice on how to find reasonable quality hotels at a cheap price. My name's Darren Bugg. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this film. Hope you enjoyed the fact that I'm now using a brand new camera, professional quality microphone. So hopefully in future my hotel reviews will be a much higher standard. If you've enjoyed it, if you found it useful, please subscribe, please like, and please share this film with your friends and your colleagues, and that would be a massive help to me. Thanks a lot. Until next time, have a great one, and goodbye.